Hear me now? Anything?
Yep.
Nice. All right, cool. Sorry about that. Um, so obviously looking ahead to this Sunday, West Virginia, Derek Culver, Tshiebwe down low, big physical, strong team. They're gonna foul a lot. They're also probably gonna bump you a lot of the times and not get foul calls. You dealt with a situation in Kentucky, especially in that second half, right, where they were playing physical and it felt like they were getting a lot of calls that you guys didn't, feel great about. And on the flip side, you guys not getting those foul calls offensively. This could be a similar situation on Sunday, right, where there's going to be a lot of non-calls and a lot of whistles they get. Is there anything you can take away from dealing with that in that Kentucky game heading into this Sunday where that could possibly be a similar situation?
Yeah. I mean, sort of going into all these games, we're not really expecting to get those calls, especially when we play these bigger teams. You know, why that is, I don't know. I'd rather not comment on that. Um, Others are better at dealing with it than I am for sure on our team. But regardless, we got to go in there ready to play. We have to expect that we're not going to get any calls. We have to expect that the game's going to be very physical, and we got to match that physicality, especially early on, especially on the backboard. Like you said, those two guys, big time rebounders. So we have to go in there and make sure we match that early on, and sort of set a tone for ourselves.
Shibwe is like, obviously they're both dominant on the offensive glass, but that's also a guy that kind of gets into foul trouble sometimes. Could you potentially see a game plan being to go after that guy and maybe attack him early and see if you can, maybe get him out of the game?
Yeah. I don't think we ever, sort of try and game plan in terms of, going at someone specifically to get them in foul trouble. But like you said, they're very overly aggressive in a lot of aspects of the game, and that gets them in trouble sometimes. And if they pick up an early one, I could certainly see us trying to, get them a quick second one possibly. But in terms of offense, we're gonna run our stuff. We don't ever really look for mismatches or try and pick certain people out, especially early on in the game, because we want to get moving to run our stuff. Because in the end, that's going to be what's best for us. So I don't, I'm not really sure if we would ever do something like that, but certainly if he picked up an early one.
Thanks.
Hey, Grant, Richmond has shown well over the years against Power Five opposition. I wonder if you could sort of speak to that and the approach that the players take to these games, which are infrequent but important.
Yeah. I think sort of the approach that we all take is, these are opportunities that you don't get very often, especially for us being a mid-major in the Atlantic 10. You only get so many opportunities each year, if at all, to play these Power Five teams, and certainly ones that are ranked whatever they are, 11th or 10th or whatever they are at this point. So just realizing that moment and realizing that this is one of the very few opportunities that we're going to get this year, and we want to take advantage and play our best game and put our best foot forward, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Thank you.
Hey, Grant. John actually put out a tweet the other day that Richmond has not been involved in very many top 20 battles as a top 20 team. You guys have a veteran group. I mean, does that make you more comfortable in a setting like this, and a matchup like this and a stage like this where Richmond really hasn't been too prevalent in recent years?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think, I don't think we think so much about, well, we're ranked as well. So, we should be better off. I don't think that adds to the level of comfort there, but I think the veteran, the experience that we have out there certainly does. I said it the other day. We have guys that have been here for 5 years now, so we've pretty much seen it all. There's not really a situation that we haven't been in. So just going into games, knowing that we have that experience out there is certainly gives us a level of comfort, especially going into games like this.
And after that pause last week, Monday, you guys looked like you were shaking off a little bit of rust. Wednesday, you looked like you were more in your groove. Do you guys feel like you're back kind of to, 100% at the level where you should be going into this game after last week's layoff?
Yeah, certainly. Like you said, certainly tough to come and get one day of practice and go into a game Monday and then have one day of preparation for a game on Wednesday. Obviously, everything's different this year. We don't really know what to expect. Things like that are going to happen. But I think, like you said, I think we looked a lot better Wednesday in terms of how we were moving the ball on offense. So hopefully, we got some workouts in yesterday and we got 2 full days of practice to prepare coming up. So I think that'll be huge for us.
Thanks, Grant. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Grant, along those same lines, you kind of weathered the storm in those two games as a ranked team. I want to just get your thoughts on what you could take from those last two games that you could probably use against West Virginia on the road.
Yeah. I think two things that we can really take from the last two games. One is obviously, especially for the younger guys, obviously the older guys, this has been preached to us for years now that everybody in college basketball is good. Doesn't matter what you're ranked, who you are, what conference you play in, no matter what, people are good. And now certainly that we are ranked and we do have that number in front of our names, we're going to get everybody's best game. So just coming out ready to play no matter who it is. And then sort of like you mentioned, sort of being able to weather the storm. 40 minutes is a long time. A lot can happen. Coach Mooney preaches it all the time in the huddle. There will be 6 minutes left in the game, and he'll mention, we have almost an hour left before we go into that locker room. Just sort of trying to preach the idea that there's a lot of time left in the game. And certainly it's something that, helps when you have veteran guys. And I think we did a good job, like you said, weathering the storm in both of those. There will certainly be runs on Sunday. They're a really good team, especially defensively. They're going to go on some runs, get some fast breaks. It's all about how we can contain that and sort of respond with the runs of our own.
And if I can follow up, you mentioned the limited opportunities you guys have against Power 5 schools, but can there be an advantage of playing a school like a West Virginia on the road? I know you want those opportunities at the Robins Center, but can there be an advantage playing a team like that on the road?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think when you go into any kind of road game, obviously your level of sort of, I don't know what the word would be, not necessarily awareness, but you're sort of going into it thinking like, we're not at our own place. We don't really know what to expect. So you sort of go into those sort of with a higher level of awareness. I don't know if that's not necessarily the word, but there's just something that you got to prepare for a little bit more when you go on the road. And certainly at a place like West Virginia that has such a history and has been so good for so long, it'll certainly be something that we'll be thinking about going into the game. And, I think honestly, to get those games at those teams' place, go on the road, I think that's more fun. To be able to go to those places like Rupp Arena or in the Coliseum on Sunday, those are things that we'll certainly remember for the rest of our lives.
Thanks, Grant.
Anything else?
Grant, before you go, a lot of guys your size have, sort of struggled with college basketball so many teams moving to playing five guys out. Obviously, you've done pretty well with that. Has it always been something you've been comfortable with, or how have you kind of adapted throughout your career to, less play like on the block?
Yeah. Sort of, I was lucky when I was younger. The coaches that I worked with and guys that I worked out with, they made sure that they sort of preached the idea that, you're not a center, you're not a five-man, you're a basketball player. Trying to make sure that you work on everything outside of just being on the block every single time. It's easy, especially when you're young, just because you're so much bigger than everybody, to just sort of get stuck down there and just be down there and just sort of dominate just off of pure height. But I was really lucky to have a bunch of people, sort of stretch it out and made me work on a lot of different things that at the time I wasn't super comfortable with. And now I'm super lucky to be here at Richmond running the Princeton where, 1 through 5, everybody needs to be able to dribble, shoot, handle the ball, make decisions. So the fact that, it all worked out like that, I'm super thankful for that for sure.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant.
Appreciate it.
Oh, hello, guys.
Hey, Coach.
Good to see you.
Likewise. John, you want to fire away or you?
I think you're muted, John.
Oh, what's on mute, John?
Sorry about that. I'm new at this. Coach, it's not unusual that a Power Five team would have a strong, big guy in the middle. Obviously, West Virginia has two of them. Can you address the interior force that the Mountaineers can bring?
Yeah, extremely impressive. Just such big bodies, such relentless rebounders. They obviously emphasize getting position, maintaining position. They're great at it. And, they put so much pressure on your second phase of your defense or the last phase of your defense trying to get a rebound. And they're so good at it, that their willingness to play two big bodied interior players is unique this day and age. And so, two guys who are talented enough to do it, work well enough together to be able to do it, but they put so much pressure on you on the backboard. And, sometimes they'll have they won't be spread out on offense, but that's to their advantage because when the ball goes up on the rim, they have multiple guys in good position who have a great knack to get the ball as it is.
Will you permit me to follow up, gentlemen, by asking about Richmond's success, relatively speaking, against Power Five competition, why it's important for you to get these schools on the schedule, and why have you had fairly good success against them over the years?
Yeah, well, I would say it's very important, when we try to put our schedule together every year, and that's probably the first part of the schedule we try to get is how many Power Five conference, how many nationally ranked teams, that kind of thing. How many of those can we get on our schedule? We'd be open to playing all of them if we could get return games each time. That's the challenge is if they'll come back to the Robins Center. And often that's not the case. So that's the first thing we try to deal with. And then, you want, for a lot of reasons, they're always great wins. They're great opportunities. They're, in most seasons, it's a great atmosphere to play in. There's a lot of interest in the game. I think we've had success because I think we've been good. And, I think when we play those games, we feel confident because we play many of them and we've had success and that builds upon itself. But I think since we've had good players, we've been able to compete and play well and have success.
Thank you.
Chris, this is obviously your second road matchup against a top 15 team this year, but against Kentucky, you were unranked. You'd played one game. It was a really young team. This time it's a more experienced team. You guys have played 4 games. You're ranked. X's and O's aside, just from a mindset, is there a different approach or different mindset that you have, coming into this one than you did going into Kentucky?
Yeah, that's a great question, Noah. I don't think so. I do. The unique thing about Kentucky is we were down there for 5 days. It felt like a month. And, because we didn't play we were there on a Tuesday and didn't play the Wednesday game. So we were down there for a long time and, fell into a good routine, in a nice hotel, having our meals together, going over to Rupp Arena. We fell into a good routine. So I think that took the idea of like going and then playing Kentucky the next day. I think that was a little bit mitigated. Like there wasn't as much of the buildup had kind of leveled off because we had been down there for so long. We saw Kentucky play. So I feel like, and I think we were confident. I think we were confident and very anxious to play. And I think it's similar in this matchup. I think we're a confident team, regardless of whether we're ranked or whatever. And I think we're anxious to play because I just feel like, you look around, you see some games getting canceled. We had games postponed / canceled. We're just very anxious for the opportunity to play.
Yeah. And just if I can follow up, looking at it, obviously the talk are going to be the big men down low, but one thing West Virginia has done is they've held opponents to below 30% from deep this year. And now obviously that's, you take that with a grain of salt because aside from Western Kentucky and, I guess kind of Gonzaga, they haven't really played great perimeter teams. We saw in Georgetown, they were really working under a lot of ball screens and Georgetown made them pay for that a little bit early. What do you see just on the perimeter as you scout this team looking at going against those defenders?
Yeah, well, really just tough, rugged, good defenders. I think that sometimes you don't a team that over the course of the season holds their opponents to low 3-point shooting. You don't see it on a particular closeout or a particular contest. It's just more the nature of the 40-minute game is hard. And, part of the game that's hard is shooting. And maybe they're a few inches closer to you, or it's, a little bit more of a rushed shot. But it's not so much something that is one key thing that they don't let you shoot from three, but then you can drive. It's just driving's hard, posting up's hard, shooting threes is hard. And I think that probably comes with their collective effort, collective physicality that they make the whole game, they make the entire game hard. And because of that, shooting naturally is down. So, hopefully we'll be able to get ourselves open shots. We've been, over the years, we've been a good transition team, a good 3-point shooting team in transition. You hope that a couple of those show up because those are in some ways, they're the easiest ones. They're the ones that look the same, no matter if you're playing Kentucky or West Virginia or Morehead State. And then, when we have the opportunity to knock shots down, I hope we can. But a lot of that is based on how well we run our offense and move and cut.
Thanks.
Hey, Coach, thanks a lot for doing this today. John pointed out earlier in the week that Richmond has not been part of many top 20 matchups where you guys were a top 20 team. Does having a veteran group make you guys more comfortable on a stage like this one that you'll be on Sunday?
I think so. I think having a veteran group helps every single thing that goes into a college basketball season, from your first practice to your first time traveling. And in a game like this, there are, it's exciting. It's exciting to have an opportunity to play a ranked team, certainly even more exciting to be a ranked team when doing so. But our guys, like I said, there have been plenty of distractions already, and we're in finals. So we'll have, we're working through that and making sure we're balancing and giving our guys the time to study and do those things. So, to have those distractions and on the other side have this great opportunity in this big game on Sunday, maybe that helps us strike a balance. But especially if you have older guys who have been through tough games, overcome distractions and just gone out and played in their careers.
You guys, Monday looked like you might have been shaking off a little bit of rust, looked a little bit more like yourselves on Wednesday night. Do you guys feel like you're back to square, where you need to be right now after that 5-day layoff?
I hope so. I thought really in the second half the last 3 minutes of the first half and the second half against Northern Iowa, we were really, really good. Our defense was very good against a very difficult team to defend. And then we moved really well on offense. We got the ball up the court quickly. We popped into everything we want to do quickly. Grant made good decisions, quick decisions. And, that helped us establish a really good pace for how we want to play. So I hope so. We'll have, in this season with games are going to come rapid fire at times. This will be a unique time where we had, not a full day off yesterday, but, 2 days of practice and scouting. So hopefully that'll reflect well for us.
Hey, Chris, in those 2 games as a ranked team, you kind of weathered the storm from your opponent in those 2 games. Can you take anything from those meetings and use for West Virginia on Sunday?
Well, strategically, it'll be very different. Those 2 teams are very much perimeter-oriented 3-point shooting teams that have a lot of great sets and actions off of what they're trying to do. Both play with skilled big men who are very comfortable in the perimeter. However, in terms of just playing games where there's game pressure on you, yes, I think that's, we played 2 very good programs who are used to winning a lot of games, who are used to really competing. And so to have that game pressure going into a game where there'll be even more game pressure, yes, I think those are great opportunities for us to look back on and to say we handled this well. I thought we handled some critical parts of the game, especially the end of the Wofford game, very well, and try to build upon that as we move forward.
And if I can follow up, Grant was talking about, I guess, the limited amount of opportunities a team like Richmond has against Power 5 schools. I think you have 3 this year, all the way from the Robbins Center. And I know you want games like that at home, but can there be an advantage of playing a team like West Virginia at their place?
Oh, sure. Again, I would assume, I don't have statistics. I'm assuming that the home court advantage isn't quite as significant this season as it usually is in college basketball. But just to play on the road in an uncomfortable setting against a great team, yeah, that's a huge challenge. So for us, yeah, every opportunity we can get, and especially with a good team, you want those challenges and those opportunities and those chances to play and compete with the very best. So it's a great opportunity, and we just need to go and make the most of it. Go and be as physically ready as we can be for how physical and aggressive they are. And then on offense, try to make that to our advantage in terms of, knowing where we're going, moving hard, getting ourselves as best of shots as possible, the best shots possible each possession.
Coach Mooney, you mentioned postponements, cancellations. Is there anything new with the Richmond schedule? You suggested earlier that perhaps you try to reschedule some of these games that were postponed or plug in new opponents. Anything new there?
So there's nothing new, John, but I can tell you that it's really a constant discussion. We're now we've lost 3 games, but then scheduling Wofford, now we're kind of a net down 2 games that we're trying to get in before Christmas, if possible. So we're talking to everybody to see if they have any openings or opportunities, and then we would just fill them in as we go. So we don't have anything official to report, but we're working very hard on it.
Thank you.
Anything else for Coach, guys?
Yeah, I'll fire one away if that's okay. Coach K gave his thoughts on the college basketball season a couple days ago. Just playing in a pandemic and essentially hinted to he really didn't think that it should be happening. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on the matter. It's difficult, but is playing in a pandemic something you're comfortable with as a coach right now?
Well, I would say, and obviously with, Mike Krzyzewski might be the best coach in the history of sports, right? So, but I would say that the worst that our coaches and players were during the time when we were shut down in the spring and summer. And the best they've been is since we've started playing games. When we got back in July, that was great. When we were able to get in the gym with one coach at a time, that was better. When we were able to practice a full team, that was better, and playing games was the best. So I would think that the best thing for a young college basketball player is to be able to pursue his passion. And, there's been a lot of effort and investment in providing that opportunity for players. Most schools are losing a tremendous amount of money and paying more money for the testing. Administrators, conferences, coaches, everybody's really going out of their way to try to make this happen. And, a big part of that is so that these guys can play, because that's so important to them. And that's what they've pursued their whole lives. So to me, that's, from my personal observation, I've seen our guys at their best when they're playing and they're able to compete and preparing to compete.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Anything else?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it.
We will be doing our own Zoom from after West Virginia. I will have an email with that link on Saturday or Sunday, all right?